Hey, today I wanted to walk through using ingest in a Next.js application. So what is ingest? Well, ingest is a great way to run background jobs for an application like Next.js, because Next.js runs in a serverless environment. There's not really a way to run cron jobs or background jobs um, in a durable way. So ingest gives you a way to manage queues, state management, and a lot of different things. And you can control how you run things because they have a lot of options for things like concurrency, throttling, how often you run functions, and how many you can run at a time. So we're going to dive into some of that today. So if you haven't checked out Ingest, check out ingest.com. That's ingest with two N's. And so the other tools we'll be using Next.js also. And so Next.js is a React framework for the web. And then along with this, we'll be using Prisma. And so Prisma is a way to connect to your database. It's an ORM for working with your database. And so let's kind of go over what is a Next.js app and how does it talk to something like Ingest. Uh, so Ingest is really cool in that it will give you a way to run all this code, these background jobs, using your own code. So all the code that is deployed out to your serverless Next.js app, it runs within your own environment, whether that's Lambdas on AWS or within Vercel. Your ingest app will run with your Next.js code. So it's not deploying it on some other server and running it. It's actually running fully contained in your environment. So your Next.js serverless app, let's talk a little bit about how it works, and then we'll go through an example. So you've got your code, your web app, maybe some kind of dashboard application. So what happens when let's say you click a button, you want to fire off an ingest event. You click a button, you fire that off. What it does, this is in your code. What it does, it then goes and talks to the ingest service, and that's where it manages all kinds of queuing logic, takes in the event parameters, the function you want to run, a lot of different things in here. You can set rate limits. So it manages this stuff. And then when it determines that it's time to run your function, fires back to your ingest API route with those event parameters. And what that route does is it goes off and runs your function. And the piece about ingest being durable is it will actually be able to run this function multiple times and it won't rerun the pieces that you don't want it to. Because you're in a serverless environment, the serverless endpoint may go down after 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever your configured timeout is. And so when that happens, the ingest app will stop running those things, but it'll let the ingest service know, hey, we didn't finish running it. We stopped at, this step in the process, and it'll call it again. It'll skip over the pieces it's done and continue on to where it was. And so you can think about that, in terms of like making an API request. You don't know how long it's going to take. If that takes too long, or maybe you're running a bunch of things and those are taking too long, and then it times out, it'll go back to where it was and then make that request again. Once it gets the results, it'll save those so that it doesn't have to run them next time, and then it'll continue on with all your logic. So let's go through an example application. So what we've got over here is a Prisma schema. It's going to be a simple application for uh, sending out messages. So you're going to have an organization that has a bunch of users in it. Those users they'll have a phone number, and then you'll want to use something like Twilio or some other service to send out messages. And so each of these users will have phone number. You can configure a broadcast to send out at a specific time. And we're going to use ingest to manage all of this. So I'm going to start running this application, pm dev. And then the other thing we want to do here after this is running, we'll want to run the ingest service separately. So the ingest gives you a great development environment where you can run the whole dev suite locally and see exactly what's happening. But for now, we'll just start off looking at this application. So we're going to go through, look at the different organizations we have set up. Org 1, we've got 25 people in here. And let's take a look at our broadcasts. Okay, so we've got a broadcast set up to go out yesterday. That was sent to 25 people. And then we configured this one to run this morning. As you can see, it's pending. It hasn't been sent yet. The way I've got this set up, we've got our ingest functions. We've got three functions here: a broadcast cron job, send a broadcast, and then send message. So let's jump into the broadcast cron job. I'll kind of show what's going on here. What this is doing is it's running every minute. It's going to check, hey, do we have any broadcasts that are pending where the time is less than now? So do we have any broadcasts that we need to send out? If we do, go through and send those to another ingest job. So what's happening here is ingest is running this and it's firing off other functions that it needs to run. And so let's see what that looks like in practice by running the ingest CLI. So this will kick up the ingest server, show you what it's got over here. We've got functions set up. You see our three ingest functions over here. In this dev environment, we can manually invoke some of these. The other thing we can do is we can watch it run. So it ran this broadcast cron job. We wanted to send a broadcast, and it's going through. It found that pending broadcast that we have, and it's running through and sending these messages. And I'll show you kind of how it's doing it. But as you can see, it's running two messages at a time. So we could probably do it where we, fire off all of these at a time, but the ingest service gives you a lot of queuing logic. And so once all those messages completed, this final broadcast completed. If we dive into this here, you can see exactly what happened. We got the broadcast. We marked it as sending. We got all the users that we wanted to send to. We batched up some events to send out to other ingest functions. And then we were waiting for the final message to be sent. And then after the final message was sent, we came back to this ingest function and we marked the broadcast as sent, and then it was completed. So as you can see, the total time it took to run all of this was 14 seconds. And that is the entire sending out each message in the broadcast. And let's look at just one of these send message functions. All it did was it went up and saved the message in the database. I simulated a 2-second delay in that ingest function, and that would be sending out to Twilio or something like that. So all of these took about 2 seconds to run, and I ran them in batches of 2 so that we didn't just flood the Twilio endpoints with a ton of messages. We kind of managed our own queuing to say, hey, only run 2 of these at a time. Ingest gives you a ton of control over how that queuing logic works, and we can dive into that into the next video. But I wanted to give you an overview of kind of a Nextjs ingest application. If I come over here and reload, as you can see, this was marked as sent, and we got 25 messages sent out to people. Yeah, so I'll dive into more of the code in the next video, but feel free to check out the repo. I'll post it in the description. And thanks for watching.